A few minutes ago, the Ministry of Defense of the Russian Federation officially announced that units of the group of troops under the designation Zapad had completely liberated the strategically important settlement of Deteriorate in the Kupiansk direction of the front. Thus, over the past 48 hours, the Russian army has liberated 2 settlements in this direction of the front. My dear truth seekers, let me remind you that on the morning of January 27, the Russian Defense Ministry also officially announced the liberation of the urban-type settlement of Zapadnoye, north of Kupiansk. All this indicates that the Russian army continues to expand its foothold on the right bank of the Oskol River, to strengthen its positions before the final assault on the city of Kupiansk. Commenting on the Russian troops' serious successes in the Kupiansk front direction, General Igor Konashenkov particularly noted the soldiers of the 25th Separate Guards Motorized Rifle Brigade. According to him, it was thanks to the professional and coordinated actions of the soldiers of this brigade that the settlements of Deteriorate and Zapadnoye were completely liberated from the enemy. The situation of the Ukrainian army also continues to deteriorate rapidly in the Kursk direction of the front. Over the past 24 hours, units of the group of troops under the designation Sever have achieved significant success in both the Sudzhansky and Koronevsky districts of the Kursk region. In particular, on the morning of January 28, Russian Marines from the elite 155th Brigade of the Pacific Fleet managed to destroy 2 motorway bridges in the settlement of Malaya Loknya. Thus, the Ukrainian army grouping in such settlements as Pogrebki, Staraya Sorokina, and Novaya Sorokina found itself in a very difficult situation. Now, the Ukrainian High Military Command is forced to supply this grouping exclusively on foot, through swampy areas and minefields. Simultaneously with this, fighters of Chechen Spetsnaz Akhmat continue to break through the defenses of the Ukrainian army in the Sudza area. At the moment, the main fighting is taking place to the northeast of this city, in the area of the settlements of Mykolavka and Martinovka. In general, even pro-Ukrainian Western think tanks admit that Russian troops are gradually tightening the ring around Sudza. According to them, the situation of the Ukrainian army has deteriorated so much that it is now unable not only to organize counterattacks in certain sectors of the front, but also to make the necessary rotation of its troops. Commenting on the situation in the Kursk Oblast, an authoritative war correspondent Alexander Sladkov said that the Ukrainian army is suffering colossal losses in this Russian region. According to him, the Ukrainian army loses about 300 soldiers every day in the Kursk region. As of January 29, 2025, the total losses of the Ukrainian army in the Kursk region amounted to 55,600 soldiers. At the same time, Alexander Sladkov expressed confidence that the Russian army, if necessary, could completely liberate the Kursk region within 1 week. Alexander Sladkov claims that everything that is happening in the Kursk region is very beneficial to the Russian army. And that is why the Russian High Military Command is in no hurry to liberate this Russian region, gradually destroying enemy forces there. The Kursk region has become a real death factory for the Ukrainian army. Kiev is losing its soldiers, officers, and heavy equipment on an industrial scale in the Kursk region. Moreover, the Ukrainian command continues to send the remaining reserves to certain death. All this is very beneficial to the Russian army. The most combat-ready and elite Ukrainian units have already been destroyed in the Kursk region. And all this allowed the Russian army to accelerate the liberation operation of the entire Donbass, Alexander Sladkov said. Recently, even British journalists, who have always been open about their pro-Ukrainian views, have surprisingly started admitting the failures of the Ukrainian army on the battlefield. So, a few hours ago, the British magazine The Economist published an article where it was explicitly stated that while there is talk of the forthcoming peace negotiations, the defense of the Ukrainian army is rapidly collapsing in all directions of the front. According to this British magazine, the Ukrainian army is experiencing a catastrophic shortage of manpower, while forcibly mobilized Ukrainian soldiers continue to surrender and desert en masse. British journalists admitted that after the loss of Velika Novoselka by the Ukrainian troops, Russian forces began to increase their pressure on the Ukrainian army's positions in the Pokrovsk, Chasiv Yar, and Toretsk areas. All this will eventually lead to the complete liberation of the entire Donbass. Journalists from the British newspaper The Times also commented on the failures of the Ukrainian army on the battlefield. In particular, they said that due to the numerous victories of the Russian army in all key areas of the front, Donald Trump would not be able to force Vladimir Putin to make concessions during the negotiation process on the Ukrainian issue. British journalists expressed confidence that if Putin does not receive guarantees of Ukraine's neutral status during the negotiations, the Russian army will go all the way and completely absorb the whole of Ukraine, including its western regions. Putin is not interested in territorial gains. For him, the most important thing is the neutral status of Ukraine. However, given the fact that Kiev will not be able to maintain neutrality, Russia will have to deprive Ukraine of statehood for the sake of its own national security, the British journalist said. Meanwhile, Russian military experts and correspondents stated that in future negotiations with Donald Trump, Vladimir Putin should also insist on including the Odessa and Nikolayev regions, along with Pridnestrovie, in the Russian Federation. In particular, an authoritative Russian military expert and retired colonel, Viktor Baranets, directly addressed Vladimir Putin. According to him, residents of Odessa and Nikolayev regions, as well as Pridnestrovie, have been dreaming of becoming citizens of the Russian Federation for decades, and if Moscow leaves these native Russian lands to the enemy, it will be a real betrayal. Viktor Baranets noted that Putin should try to peacefully return Odessa, Nikolayev, and Pridnestrovie to Russia. However, if Kiev and its western masters refuse to return these lands, then the Russian army must use military force to resolve this issue. Only after that will all the objectives of the special military operation be accomplished.